back to another inspiring episode of the Achieving Unity Success Formula podcast. This is where we turn chaos into connection and we turn purpose into action. I am your host. I am Mark Intrican, and today's episode is all about something close to home: fathers. Not just fathers. What happens when schools and the people within them stop seeing fathers as extras and start seeing them as essential, an essential part of children's raising? Now, I know firsthand that being a dad in today's world is not always simple. Of course, neither is a mom. But what we're working on here is the parents, and we're focusing on dads in June, we're focusing on moms in August. But when it comes to our kids' education, involvement from fathers and father figures, it makes a huge difference when the father is involved and the father feels comfortable about being involved. Our guest today is someone who has been at the heart of that movement for over 15 years. Keith Schumacher did not come into the school system with a teacher's badge. He came in as a dad, saw what was missing, and got to work. He has been a voice for father engagement at the local, state, and national level. And today, we get to hear from him directly about how welcoming fathers can truly transform schools and our children's lives. So, whether you're a parent, a teacher, a school leader, or someone who just wants to make a difference in the life of a child, this conversation is for you. It's for all of us. But first, before we dive in, let me quickly introduce my company, Reality Focused Dynamics, which is where this all began. I hope you can see on the first slide, you'll see my gift to you. And this is your free Achieving Unity guide. This helps us in achieving unity. That's process of achieving unity through the power of encouraging, inspiring, and including others personally and professionally. The QR code for the guide is on the left, bottom left. The QR code for the blog to see my articles is on the bottom right. Please connect with me. Let me know how you're doing, how we can all work together, and how I may be able to help you. Achieving Unity Success Formula Weekly Podcast number 40. And I hope you know this is live and recorded. Podcast will be available in about 3 days out on YouTube. So if you can pass this on to others, if you were not able to bring someone with you, if you're not able to invite others, please share this podcast. It is available on YouTube. Share it. Let's make it work. We are here every Wednesday live, 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Please put it on your calendar. Reality focused dynamics, success focused solutions. As you can see, our logo, it truly represents the heart of what we do. Notice how focused sits right at the center. That's because everything we explore, from reality focused dynamics to success focused solution, revolves around clear, intentional direction. In fact, that idea of focus is so central to us, it's even built right into our business phone number. 303-362-8733 spells 303 focused on your phone pad. We believe that by being truly focused, by focusing on what matters, we can create a meaningful change and achieving lasting unity. We have proven compassionate strategies that turn conflict into lasting harmony at home, at work, and in every relationship that matters. And they do matter. Are you ever frustrated by tension, by people that are arguing constantly, people that are finding wrong, creating issues? Our 7-step roadmap gives you the tools to move from conflict to collaboration quickly and confidently. Are you craving stronger trust, stronger connection? Discover communication tactics that build respect, repair relationships, and unify teams and families alike. Transform that conflict into connection, that chaos into connection, together achieving unity. Unity inspires us in our home. Unity shapes society. Unity transforms workplaces. And that's what we do with our course. We help you turn frustration into understanding. Have you ever heard what the frustration? We can find value in our actions instead of acting or reacting in that anger, that disconnection, that hate, that frustration. We can show you how anger holds no value. Anger is just actions, not gaining effective results. Life happens. It happens in every relationship, from personal to professional, from parenting time to partnerships, in the boardroom, the bedroom, and every room in between. We show you how to embrace those challenges, how to encourage a more inspired and inclusive future. One vision, one goal, achieving unity in every area of life. What's our call to action? Well, let's ditch the drama. Let's get some stuff done. We'll show you how to turn your life from what may seem like a dumpster fire at times to a well-oiled machine. Achieving unity is the path to stronger relationships, inspired leadership, and lasting change, a true improvement. We can help you with coaching. We can help you through consulting. We have courses you can take, and I enjoy giving keynote speeches to association, corporation, organization, university. We can come together and make it better for all of us. Contact us today. You can also reach me at realityfocusdynamics.com. You can call me, as the number was mentioned earlier, 303 Focused, or you can use the QR code there in the bottom. Get in touch with me. Let's talk. Let's create a better world for all of us. The course is 7 steps to achieving unity, success formula, living life fully, not cutting back, but living life fully through present moment awareness, getting beyond that anger, actions that gain no results. Our next course is starting on August 7th. It's a Thursday. It'll be for the 7 Thursdays in a row. It starts at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Achieving unity doesn't Achieving unity doesn't just solve problems. You can see how excited I get through this because we can truly build bridges of possibility. We can encourage every person's growth by replacing that criticism with compassion, inspire change through hope, not pressure. Every step forward matters. We can include every voice so no one feels unseen, unheard, or unworthy. When we replace the disconnection with empathy and frustration with understanding, we create space for trust, collaboration, and shared success. This is how we can thrive. We can have thrive together. We can do it achieving unity. Our next podcast, and again, I hope that you have this on your calendar. Come back and see us every week. Next Thursday, next Wednesday. Also, Alan Stevens, International Profiling and Communication Specialist, will be here. Help us in talking and communicating with others. Again, this is our Father Month. We have one more week after this week, talking about fathers and dads and parenting and how we can work that better. This communication through Alan will be excellent. Please come back. Then we're honored on the July 2nd 2 days before the United States July 4th Independence Day holiday. Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman will be here. He'll talk about that price of freedom, honoring the cost of independence that we have today that everyone wants around the world and what we've done. He'll talk about that. So please come back. On the next week, on July 9th, we're going to focus on U.S. independence and how we can carry it after July 4th. After Independence Day, how can we carry it together through unity, appreciating our independence going forward? Then on July 16th, Vicki Mizell, she'll talk to us about championing memory enhancement. How many times do we wish we could remember more? How many times do we think we could help our memory? Come talk to us on July 16th. Vicki will be here to work with us. On the next week, July 23rd, Dr. Ali Lankarani, we call him Dr. L. Wonderful guy, works around the world in helping others. He's going to talk about the 4 keys to optimizing your brain potential. How many of us feel sometimes we'd like to be a little bit smarter, like to think a little bit better? Come back on July 23rd. Dr. L will be here to help us with that in a wonderful interview. Today, wow, I'm excited. Now, I've talked to Keith before. We've talked several times on the telephone. He's been on my podcast before, tremendous podcast. But we ask, Keith, what is a father friendly school? Well, father friendly schools create an inclusive environment by actively inviting fathers and father figures, such as grandfathers, uncles, mentors, father in laws, stepfathers, all of them into the school community. These schools often use nationally recognized programs to engage their male role model into the students' lives, providing opportunities for involvement year round. The goal is to break down stereotypes, encourage male participation, and ensure that fathers have the support they need to be active in their children's education. It sounds simple, but we're going to learn more in just a minute. These programs are open to all students, including those without fathers, and can include mentoring or other father engagement initiatives to bring us all together. Would you please help me welcome a wonderful friend of mine, Keith Schumacher.
Hi, Mark. How are you doing? It's an honor to be here.
Keith, it's so good to have you back. It's always great. You always have a smile. You always are positive. It's good to have you on here and to share more about this because we know I had some struggles being a father and the court system and getting all that together. It's difficult for a lot of fathers, and I'm so glad that you're doing all you're doing to help make this better for all of us. But if you don't mind, could you maybe reintroduce yourself, talk to yourself a little bit, and maybe clarify with me? Because as I mentioned earlier, you didn't enter education through the teacher's lounge. You
No, I
came
did
in
not.
through the front door as a dad. What?
And
Tell us a little
and
about
I
yourself and go
and at
ahead,
first
please.
at first I didn't get very far beyond that front door. And that's kind of what really sparked me into this work that I do. Um, my name's Keith Shoemaker. I got my DAD in 1999. If you do the math, you'll find that my daughter is now 25 and about to get married. I got my what I call my advanced DAD in 2004. So once again, if you do the math, you'll see actually an empty nester. But the passion that I've had for this work has been very strong over the years, and it all started just with a comment from one teacher. She said, "It's just weird when you're in here." And that comment is what really made a change and made me start to think about the engagement of dads in schools and just the fact that schools culturally and systemically don't really think about including dads. It's a mom-centric world, and when a lot of folks you're trying to do so many of the things that we have done as a society and as a culture to try to be inclusive of all, what they've forgotten is that family engagement and education is the polar opposite of what everything else in the world is. The dads were never there. I won't say they were never there, but they haven't been there in the last few decades. And when I talk to guys, it's like, well, yeah, that's my wife's thing. No. So what I found very early on in this work is that when you specifically and intentionally say, no, you can't pass this one off to mom or grandma or auntie or whoever the maternal figure in the family is, this is for dad. Dad has to say yes or no. And strangely enough, and schools are tremendously surprised when that overwhelmingly the guys will say yes, but you have to ask them first.
Isn't
So
that
a
something?
lot of fun.
And we don't. Why is that? Why aren't the fathers asked?
Because in our culture and in our society, and I talked to principals all over the country. I just came back from Atlanta. I was there last week. I was at the Georgia PTA convention, and it's just a matter of when you talk to school administrators and you ask them, who do you communicate with? And they say, well, we communicate with the primary caregiver. That's who we communicate with. And of course, 9.5 times out of 10, that's mom or grandma or auntie. And most of the time dads don't even know that the school is constantly sending out, we need parents, we need families, we need, and they're using generalized terms thinking that they're being inclusive. But what I tell people all the time, Mark, is if you want to get somebody, if you want to talk to somebody, you got to call the right phone number. You can't just pick up your phone and say, hey, I want to talk to somebody and expect to get to you. So that's really kind of what we're working on is you gotta call the right number, and when you do, they are, the guys will show up. And I just had a conversation. I'm working on my book, and I called a person that I actually wrote a story about an assistant principal, and a story that she and I had several years ago. And I was in her office, and she put her arms on the desk, and she looked across the desk, and she said, "This thing's not going to work. We just don't have dads in this community."
Oh
And
my gosh.
I looked back across the desk and I said, "Trust me, trust the process. If it doesn't work, you can blame it on me and I'll take all the blame. Well, just trust the process." Well, at that school at that time, yes, it was challenging, but they followed the plan. They put the information out there. 3 solid weeks of we're having this event. Every platform they had, they really didn't think they were going to get more than two or three guys at the most. And that school, I would say, had an enrollment of about 600 to 700. Mark, 48 guys walked in the door and said, I'm here for you. I'm ready to go." And the reason why I chose that story to relate in my writing is that there were three gentlemen in that event. And at that particular event, the adult that comes with the child stands up and recognizes the child and says, "I'm proud of you because," and they say it out loud in front of the group, and that alone sometimes
Wow.
changes the dynamic of the family. But the first gentleman stood up and he said, "I work out of town. I work in Washington, D.C. When I saw this invitation, I took the day off and flew in to be here for this because I've never had an opportunity to do, I've never been invited to do anything with my daughter at school before. And I'm pretty sure I'll never be invited again. And I want to take this opportunity." Well, what he didn't know, the plan was to be able to continue to do that. So that was the first mic drop moment. The second was a young man about 20, 21 years old. So when he stands up, everybody's thinking, okay, teenage dad, young dad. And he stood up and he said, "I want to introduce this kindergartner right here with me. I'm not her dad." He said, and this kid is dressed from head to toe. And I'm Panther alumni, so I'll say it. Georgia State. He had the hat on, he had the shirt on, his shoelaces were Georgia State. He was proud to be a Panther, right? And he stood up and he said, "I'm here today because," and if you pardon my expression, Mark, because this is what the man said in an elementary school building. And of course, people get away with all kind of things now, unfortunately. But he said,
It's
"I'll be
crazy.
damned if I let her go through what I went through to get through my education. I'm going to be here for her." And he looked her in the eye and said, "Baby, I'm here for you, and I always will be." And if that wasn't enough to get you choked up, About halfway through the event, I noticed a gentleman walk in. He had four kids with him. They, you know, they were running late. You could tell the kids had dressed themselves, if you know what I mean. Right. And and it took him a little while to figure out what was going on because he had come late. He didn't get the explanation of what all the guys were doing. Well, he was the last one to speak, and they handed him the microphone, and he seemed a little lost. And he said, "Guys," and when I tell the story, I get choked up, so I'll apologize if I do. But he said, "Guys, I just don't know what to do." And it kind of paused. He said, "My wife died 3 weeks ago,
Oh, wow.
and I have no idea how I'm going to raise these four children by myself." And the principal, who knew the story, walked over and kind of put her arms around him. But three guys, Mark, in the back of the cafeteria, almost in unison, stood up and said, "Dude, give me your phone number. We're here for you. We're gonna, and those kind of organic things just don't happen when people think dads don't care, when people think dads are too busy. And the worst part is when people think dads are absent. And that, that I love to share that story. There is a sad side to that story because that event happened on March the 6th of 2020. And the following week, the world stopped. And it took them almost 2 years to get that program back up and running. But just the story of what happened that special time, that special event that morning really can be shared. It can be reproduced at any school, private, public school, um, church school, charter school, whatever. I've worked with thousands of schools coast to coast, Mark. And when you put the right recipe together, and it's very easy, you can get guys in the building and really change the culture and the environment of the school. And
I think that is so
that's what
great
I love.
because as you talk about, they don't think fathers want to be involved and dads want to be involved. But like you just mentioned, your first example, talking to that principal, they said that won't work here. A lot of times it's not that they don't think they're blocked. A
Yeah.
lot of time, as I saw when I was raising my kids and had to fight and spent a lot of money in legal fees just to
Hmm.
be able to see my children and be able to go to the school. One time, let me know if you've seen this before. I was at one event. It was a breakfast, a pancake breakfast. My ex saw my car and turned around. They went somewhere else. They didn't even go ahead and come.
Mm.
Went away. How often do you see things like that happen also?
That's sad. We do, and one of the things that I've been told a couple of times, because one of the programs that we partner with, and we do partner with both of the nationally recognized school-based father engagement programs, and I'll get into what that means and understanding the difference between fatherhood mentoring and school-based. There are three different things, and you got to use the right tool to get the right job done.
Thank
But
you for explaining that. We're looking forward to it. Yeah, go ahead.
yes, yes. So one of the programs actually is very involved with getting those guys not only to volunteer at the school, but getting them in the classroom, working side by side with the teachers. That program's known as Watchdogs. It was the first program that I got involved with years ago. And we've had several, several non-custodial dads make the comment of how much they loved it because it gave them a chance to spend time not only with their kids, but to be able to support the whole community. And it wasn't something that they had to um, deal with, through a legal process or have a special permission or change a schedule or anything like that. It was just a matter of, you know, hey, I'm going to be scheduled to do this. And one dad said, there is not a more highly supervised visitation than 1,400 eyes on you all day long.
Mhm, yes, sir. Okay, but I want to sort of interrupt you right here, right now.
Yes.
But this is one thing that we did in Colorado. We changed that term visitation to
Mm,
parenting time. And I want to make sure and talk to everyone about that. No
absolutely.
parent is a visitor in their own child's life, whether it be a
Absolutely.
mother, father, grandmother, or grandfather. No one is a visitor. They are a parent. And when they're seen as a parent, they're more apt to bring on that responsibility and accountability that we ask for, right?
Absolutely. And to kind of tag on to that, one of the things that I regularly talk about is that when dads do show up at the school, sometimes you have one extent or the other. Either they think the guys are too busy and they think they're going to be running out and trying to get away. But the flip side of that, and I also hear it, is um, comments that are absolutely not ill-intended, meant in good humor and good spirit, but they can very easily be taken the wrong way. So I mean, just as an example, dad's spending time with his kids. They're walking down the street or they're in the school, and somebody says, "Oh, are you babysitting today?"
That
No,
is so
no,
sad.
no.
No,
And we have guys comment that, I'm tired of being called cute. I'm tired of being called sweet. I just want to be called there, present.
just
Um,
want to be called dad.
exactly. And that's what it's about. So I do if I'll go ahead and jump into the understanding the programs,
Please,
because that really is one thing that creates a lot of roadblocks when it comes to schools, because people don't understand the the terminologies and what the programs are intended to do. So if you hear the term fatherhood program, that is not going to be a program that is going to help a school. And here's why. A fatherhood program is generally intended to address some sort of a deficit in the father. So it's to help a father either better connect with resources as far as a community or government resources. It may be addressing drug and alcohol awareness. It may be addressing reentry post-incarceration, legitimation. But those programs are generally intended to help a dad be a better dad. I don't like to say fix a broken dad, but I think you'll understand what I'm saying. And usually that intent, you'll hear the terms curriculum, meaning that there's a program where they will have to attend, a certain number of weeks, classes, those type of things. So those are really intended to pull the dads out of the school, not in, but out of the school and into their program. They're great programs. There's a lot of great work that's being done across our country, but that people don't understand. When I talk about father engagement in schools, I say, well, we're using, and they'll bring up, one of the commonly known programs, fatherhood programs. And what I try to get them to understand is, okay, that's going to help the guy be a better dad, but that is not going to help you with your family engagement goals and strategies for your school. We want to get everybody into the school for the right reasons and be able to, not have to qualify to be able to be engaged with your kids at the school. Now, a mentoring program, I was working with a large school district in Georgia at one time, and we were talking about bringing a father-friendly program in. And they said, "Oh, we have a mentoring program. Why would we need this?" Well, a mentoring program is for students who don't have dads, and they can be run by the school district, and it is to connect students who need that father figure to be able to have someone. So once again, it's a very specific program for a very specific group of folks that would qualify to need a mentor. Now, if you're having a father-friendly program, there's absolutely nothing wrong with using a father-friendly program to recruit for a mentoring program or for a fatherhood program. But a school-based father-friendly program is really intended for any predominantly male role model, but sometimes it's the moms that show up, and that's okay. But it is intended to change the culture and the dynamic of the school and open up to everybody without a need for a qualification. So in a lot of
right?
cases, somebody will say, "Well, I wanted to do the thing at the school, but it was for drug and alcohol awareness, and I've been clean and sober and never had a problem." So they don't go. So that does sometimes create a little bit of a barrier, of a roadblock. So
A challenge.
school-based father engagement programs are intended to bring folks into the school and to participate in programming. And another thing that a lot of times the school leaders don't think about, they think of these programs as, the cute, oh, it's cute. It's a daddy-daughter dance, and we're gonna, we're doing something sweet or we're doing something cute. But what they need to realize is that we're talking about strategies for educational funding because I know we have a lot going on in our country right now, and I'm not going to get into any of
Right.
the controversial issues. But the thing is that we know that regardless of where the funding is coming from, who's going to be regulating the funding or whatever, family engagement in education is important. The parents are the first teachers, right? Family engagement is important. So regardless of where the funding is going to be coming from, and the programs that we work with are very, very, very low cost, especially when compared to some of the things that you see where, buying a curriculum is 35, $40,000. One of our programs is $100 a year. I've got dads
Wow.
that pay for it out of their pocket just to have this resource for the school. So wherever that funding comes from, it doesn't matter. But you can use what you're doing in engaging these families as a part of your reporting back to whoever it is you need to report to, the school district, the state, federal government, whoever. If it's Title I funds or whatever, the data that you get from these programs will help you keep the funding coming. And if school districts and school administrators can start looking at it as a strategy that will help them get done what they need to get done rather than another feel good initiative, even though it is a feel good initiative,
Right.
it's something that's going to make everybody feel good and
We
happy.
want it to feel good,
But
but
it's a but it's a strategy to help them get to their goals. And once we get schools and school districts to start looking at it that way and say, oh, this isn't just, fun and play. This is the real deal.
that is so true. And I think the biggest thing that you're bringing up is the myths that have come about over time. And I think one of them that you talk about on your site is called the donuts with dads dilemma,
Yes.
and why it takes so much more, and it's so much more than paper and a paper cup and pastries to
Right.
truly engage fathers long term, right?
Right. And here's what happens, and I hear this all the time. I have so much fun with it because I know the conversation before we even get halfway into it. Well, we had a Donuts with Dad event and we had 300 dads show up. Great. Then what happened? Well, we never saw them again. They never did anything. They just showed up and that was the only thing. I said, but you got to understand what you've done. Now, if I'm talking to a principal, okay, you had Donuts with Dad, you had 200 and some guys show up. What did you
And there's
do?
nothing wrong with that, but
There isn't, but you got to make sure you don't create the message that that's the only day that they're welcome. Because that's what happens is they feel like, oh, I got to go. If I can't go, then I've missed my opportunity. I got to wait till next year. So that's why it's important that if you have Donuts with Dad, and what I love to say, Mark, is if the only thing that a school administrator offers dads is a donut, the engagement lasts exactly as long as the donut does. Because when the donut's gone, so are they. And if
well
you
said.
understand that concept and say, okay, we got you in here, let's talk about what you can do. We've got this date, this time, we're having a meeting, we're having a chapter meeting here if it's one program, or you can volunteer. Right now is a very pivotal time in what we do in education. And I'm glad that you had me on here during this Father's Day week. And by the way, I hope you had a great Father's Day, and I hope everybody listening had a great Father's Day because I know I did.
Thank you. You too.
Um, but what people don't think about is, right now their mindset is, oh, it's summer vacation and we don't have to think about school. There's nothing going on and nobody's at the school and there's nothing to do. Couldn't be further from the truth, Mark, because think back during your daddy days. What is the one night or one afternoon all school year, then you have the most dads in the school building. It's
Help
open
me
house.
out.
It's back to school night.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
Back
that is
to
the
school.
one, it's new, it's the new school year, it's exciting. Dad might have gotten voluntold to be there, but that one opportunity is the largest number of dads you will see generally in a school building all year long. So don't wait until August to start trying to make a plan. That would be like you calling me up and saying, "Hey, I want you to be on my podcast and we're going to do something someday. Have a nice day. We'll see you later." There's no meat to it.
None.
But if you can on that back to school night, when the kids are meeting the teacher, the parents are coming in, the families are meeting the teacher. Yeah, mom's going to sign up for PTA and dad should sign up for PTA too. Don't get out of that. But when we have them in the building, say, you know what? Not only do we want you here on August the 27th at 7 p.m. to have pizza with your kid, and we're going to talk about when we're going to sign up for that whole day. And by the way, I got the calendar right here. If you want to go ahead and sign up for a day to volunteer at the school, go ahead and put your name on it, and we'll contact you about a week ahead of time, and we'll give you the schedule where you're going to volunteer. So it even though we're on school break, and a lot of the PTAs are having their conventions this time of year. As I said, I just got back from Georgia PTA and I'm heading to Texas PTA here in a couple of weeks. And those PTAs, this is the planning time because it's the time to register for those programs, get that little bit of training, and by that back to school night in either August or some of the school districts are as late as September, you got to have something to give them more than just a handshake and a, how you doing? If you give them something they can commit to and bite into right there that time, then you've got them.
That's
You,
right.
you
And like
have
you're
that.
saying, it's not Mom Teacher Association. It's not MTA. It's PTA, Parent Teacher, both parents. And the best
Absolutely.
parent is both parents, grandparents too. And the way you're pulling this together and informing, because how many, when I went to school, when my kids were going to school, and I would go to the meetings, I'd be one, two, three dads there out of
If
30
that.
kids. Yes. And it was amazing. I would go to these events and people look at you that, what are
Mhm.
you doing here?
Exactly.
How
Exactly. Oh,
can,
your wife told you to be here? Or the one I love is, here, give this to your wife. Give this to the child's mother.
mhm,
Uh, okay, but I'm going to look at it first because it's my child.
exactly. And we need to get more fathers to realize that because our culture and our learning and watching TV, the things that we see on the internet, we've got
Absolutely.
to improve that whole spectrum of,
Well,
go ahead.
and one thing that I tell people, particularly parent organizations, PTA, PTO, PT, whatever you want to call it, is that when you do include dads, number one, you want to ask them to be members. At one point, I was a member of 17 different PTAs in I think 14 different states. And that was only because I was very strong on the number one reason why men don't join PTA is nobody ever thinks to ask them.
Mhm.
And I was
They're
very
not included though, Keith.
right.
Isn't that one of the problems? They're not
E-
included when they go. Like we're both talking about. When we
Exactly.
go, we're still seen as okay, go stand over there. Right?
Yeah.
You guys
I was
go
I was told one time, Mark, I was told, well, if you're going to be around the PTA, you're going to have to wear a skirt to fit in with these women.
exactly.
Well, here's the thing. I get a little Irish. I have a kilt. I almost called their
Oh yeah.
bluff.
Oh, you should. Oh, I was just thinking about that when you said that. That's a great idea. Well, if you don't
So,
mind, Keith, can I take you back just a moment? And
sure.
I'd like for you, if you would, just to share a moment from your early days and the DOGS, Watchdogs,
Yes,
and how that really lit your fire for your mission. Can you maybe touch on that just a little bit?
it did. It did. And I mentioned the comment from the teacher, and I really there was just something that really struck me, and I just couldn't let it go. And it was almost 2.5, 3 years that I was trying to figure out. I was talking to the principal, trying to figure out what to do. And I saw a story about the Watchdogs program. And it really caught my attention. It was on ABC World News Tonight back then. I think that was still back in the Peter Jennings days, if I remember right. And it talked about this program, and it was where dads were coming into the school, volunteering in the school. The principal was talking about how great it was, and how discipline referrals had gone down, and how attendance had improved just by making this change. And I was hooked. And so I Googled it, I looked it up, I found out a little bit. I called out. The office was in Springdale, Arkansas at the time, which is where the program originally started, and got a little bit of information. And then I went to the principal, and she told me at that time, um, the same thing that the principal told the two original founders of Watchdogs back in 1998, said, go back, put something together and bring me something I can say yes to. I'm not gonna, I can't, I don't have anything to say yes to, which is what we did. So, yeah, she and I took the training together. Back then it was just a conference call, and we launched that program. And like most people, I expected, you know, at the most 5 or 6 guys to be interested and show up. And we followed the training. I tell people you got to follow the training letter by letter, and we did. And when we had 285 dads respond
Wow.
that they were coming in for pizza, I was in a panic because I needed to figure out how I'm going to feed them pizza.
You
Um,
come with 285 pizzas theoretically.
but it was a great start. That's how I got hooked. That's how I met Eric Snow, one of the founders of Watch Dogs, who is still one of my best friends. Um, and yeah, he actually came out and helped me launch that program at the school,
That's
which
beautiful.
doesn't ever happen, but in this case, it did.
Well, kind of give me some ideas here, and I appreciate your support. And when you have a dad that comes up and says, "Well, I'd love to be more involved, but I don't think the school really needs me," what do you say?
Well, I give them the information, and I say, okay, this is, I'll send them to our webpage. I'll send them to the program webpage. And sometimes I'll look at where geographically they're located, because some of these programs work better in different areas, and we have some regional programs in different areas, so I can direct them in that direction as well. But I talk to them, I give them the data, I give them the information. And the thing about it is we have a lot of dads that just like me wanted to do something, didn't know where to start, didn't know where to get in the door. So I tell them, first of all, learn about the program. And then you got to go to the principal. You got to go to the school administrator, because, and I make this joke all the time. I say the school is the principal's house. That's their building. You're just asking to play in the living room for a little bit, right? So when the principal sees the vision of family engagement, and I give these guys the tools of the educational buzzwords. We talk about Title One, Section 1116, and terms that the principal is going to recognize, like,
Can you
oh,
help us with Title One real quick? What is Title One?
so Title One is the Every Student Succeeds Act. It's federal
Thank
law,
you.
that really targets the funding for what we commonly refer to in error as Title One schools. It should be schools with a Title One program. Don't label the school. I got corrected on that one time. That's how I keep that up. But it is basically how the federal government looks at schools, and schools that are in need of help. And a lot of times that's based on their number of free and reduced lunch. There's several different, calculations on how they figure if a school needs Title One assistance. But if they do, then part of that is in that law, ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act, Title One, Section 1116. I believe it's either A or C if you want to dig into chapter and verse. But it basically says that the school is required to engage with families in the school community. And they are required to have meetings. They are required to get input. They are required to have a committee of parents and community members to be able to meet these goals. and they need to report back on that. So generally, they need to, number one, that we know that they've identified the need. They have to show that they've made an outreach. They have to show that there's been a response, and they have to show that they've had attendance at their events. So that's what these programs help them with on that level. Now, of course, a lot of that may be changing, here in the next, year, two, three, however. But as I said earlier, family engagement is very important. It's going to be required, and it really needs to be because we
It
want
it
to,
does.
get people in the mindset of, oh, yes, we need to have a fully engaged and welcoming and supportive community. But in order to have them in the building, we have to welcome them and invite everybody in.
Well, who would come, who would want to come if they weren't feeling welcome? How would you expect
Exactly.
anyone to come back if they didn't feel welcome? But I want to just again congratulate you again and again, but you're now the executive director of the National Alliance for Father-Friendly Schools. So congratulations. That's awesome. You've taken on quite a responsibility, accountability, but I don't know what that means, and I bet you a few, if not all of our listeners are wanting to know more. What does a father-friendly school actually look like in real life?
I would say that the easiest thing and the thing I love about the plug and play part of it is these programs are very low cost and easy to implement, and they have their own training. Now, we do provide a training which is kind of the precursor to the programs because a lot of people don't understand. They'll say, "Well, why do we need to engage dads? We invite families. Isn't that good enough?" And that training that we provide is much like what we've talked about here is understanding why there's that gap. The schools want the dads involved, the dads want to be involved, but there's a big disconnect. And a lot of folks I've had principals tell me we've tried and tried and tried and we just can't get dads to show up. Well, what have you tried? Well, we sent out an email blast. Well, who did you send the email to? The primary caregiver. So when we start looking at our culture, we start looking at our stereotypes, we start looking at the response within the community, then we can start looking at creating a father-friendly school. And in the case where I live here in Brunswick County, North Carolina, we're actually about to have our first certified father-friendly district, which
Wow.
means all 19 schools um,
19
hopefully we'll
schools.
have some program so that if a dad walks into a school and says, "Hey, I'm here," they'll be like, "Okay, here you go. A, B, C, D, E, just follow the list. We got you. You're welcome anytime. We can do that." And that's really the goal is to be able to have multiple opportunities throughout the school year, not one donut and done, multiple consistent opportunities throughout the school year to be engaged with the school. We're going to be launching an initiative that I think is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about it called Friday Night Dads. And
Mm,
uh, and the idea behind Friday Night Dads is that each school in the feeder pattern for the high school, at some point, maybe all at once, it's going to be up to the local schools to figure out how they want to do it. But the idea is the elementary school community together goes to the high school football game that they're all going to eventually be going to anyway and have a tailgate.
right.
Just have fun. And while they're there, we can talk about, well, our school has this father-friendly program. We'd like you to sign up. And then when they go in at halftime, we're going to recognize these are our father-friendly schools. These are the dads from, you know, Entrican Elementary School, that are there to volunteer and support. Because it does two things. It shows the whole community that there is a father-friendly atmosphere there. But the thing I'm even more excited about is the guys on the other side of the field are going to be like, why don't we have this in our district?
Mm,
So it will help them to be able to build a stronger from kindergarten through high school community, everybody coming together and then within their regional community because the other school districts are going to be finding out about it because they're at these events. So that's just one example. Hopefully, we will be having some books out soon that will help train people and help move forward in learning about this. So a lot of really, really great stuff on the horizon. I'm really excited about what we're doing.
I'm excited what you're doing because I know that my Achieving Unity success formula talks about that and turning that chaos, like you're doing, turning chaos into connections
Yes,
and how those father-friendly schools are helping to make that shift real
yes,
and that make that shift turn into something that's usable and as you're building these bridges and you're building bridges not just between dads and schools, but Keith, looks like you're building bridges between generations and
yes,
communities. You're building a legacy as I see it in what you
absolutely.
do.
I get chills when I talk to a dad in a school and and it's happening more and more. I mean, these programs, both of them have been around for 25 years, Mark. This isn't something new. But when I have a dad say, I'm a watchdog because my dad was a watchdog when I was in school. And I have dads coming up to me at conventions and say, "Hey, I remember I was, I was an all-pro dad or I was a watchdog." And I've had dads and kids come up to me at these events and the kids being like their employees at this point because they're a vendor or whatever and say, yeah, I remember, that was so great. My oldest daughter is actually on my board. She is,
Wow.
she supports because, you know, she said one of the most interesting things to me when she was in high school, and I said, well, you're getting a little bit older, and I need to step back and let somebody else take the role of being, leading the, in that school, the father friendly program that they were using at that school, and she looked at me, she said, no, I want you. You know, how often do you hear that from a teenager?
That
It
is
really
beautiful.
that that
Brings
comment
tears to my
in the
eyes. Yeah.
car. Yeah, sitting in the car in front of the school that day, I will never forget that comment.
Wow, that is touching. Well, then, kind of tell me this, Keith. What advice would you give to someone that's listening to this program and who wants to champion a true father involvement in their own school, their own district? What advice can you give them?
Call me.
How do we get a hold of you?
Uh, well, very simple. You can go to Father Friendly Schools. I know it's long, but it's fatherfriendlyschools.org. And that kind of explains what we do. We are a 501(c)(3) nonprofit organization. So if you'd love to drop a donation into that webpage, that would certainly help us continue this work. But
And
you
like
can
you're
get on
saying, that's a
the
donation and it's tax deductible,
absolutely.
sounds like. Okay,
Yes,
go ahead.
and you can go to the members of the Alliance. You can see all of the organizations, including Reality Focused Dynamics, that are partners with us and that are listed on that webpage and actually have links to the organizations. And we break that down. So at the top of the page, you will see our two national school-based father engagement programs that are available to any school anywhere in the country. There's also two regional programs that we partner with. One is in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the other is in Missouri. So you can have connections with them as well. But I would say learn as much as you can about the program that you're interested in, and I can certainly help you with that. And then get your ducks in a row and know that when you go in to talk to the principal is going to tell you the same thing that Jim Lewis said in 1998. Give me something I can say yes to. And if you walk in there with everything ready to go and say, I'm willing to be your leader, or I'm willing to build a team to lead this thing, we'll partner with the school staff and make this thing work. It is a very, very easy transition once you do that, but you got to get the principal to buy into family engagement and to buy into that, you can bring a significant number of families that most schools don't see. And it is not uncommon, Mark. I've been doing this for 15 years.
Yes.
I've got pictures of a school we did as late as February. I had 200 guys walk into the school and say, "Sign me up." And
Uh,
uh, and yes, we bribe them in
wow.
the door with pizza or donuts. That's the
That's
way
a
to a man's
start.
heart is through his stomach.
That's the seed, right?
But but yeah, once you get them in, just you just got to explain to them we don't want to interrupt your work schedule. We don't want to, we don't want to eat up your whole life. But here are your opportunities. If you can take one day off during 365 days of the year, we can certainly use you at the school. Or if you can take 1 hour to show up at the school once a month and tell your kids you love them and you're proud of them and you want to eat a donut or a biscuit with them and go through a character message, those are easy things. And for as I said, comparable to to most programs, they're very inexpensive. Now, and in our organization, we do provide training to school districts, PTA councils, any organization that would love to bring us out and go through the hour training, which is recognizing and removing barriers to father engagement in schools. And we change the name different times for whatever organization we're working with, but the concept is basically understanding how to get past the stereotypes. And then for school districts, we have the ability to even go beyond and do a half-day program, and that would include specifically training for either the Watchdogs or the All Pro Dad Chapters program, and be able to help their folks get those programs up and running. So we have a lot of school districts that don't even realize they have registered programs. I'm working with a school district in Georgia that I was very familiar with, and I would say easily between half to three-quarters of the schools in this district, and it's a large district of 113 schools. Um, they
Wow.
have registered programs, and the school district didn't even know about it. And all we need to do is just we can do an assessment of a school district. That is one thing that the National Alliance for Father Friendly Schools does, is we can assess the school district to see where you stand with your father engagement programs. Had a school district I worked with in California, they had zero, they had nothing. But they didn't know because nobody's ever looked at it. And then on the flip side, this district where out of 113 schools, I would say probably 70 of them were registered, and their programs were in various, some are dormant, some are active, some are on life support. But unless you ask, you never know.
You never know. That is so
We don't know what we
true.
don't
And
know, right?
exactly. We'll have a few minutes left, Keith. So may I ask you one more time? How can our listeners connect with you? How can will they connect with that National Alliance for Father-Friendly Schools? How can they even bring you in to speak or even to train if they have a school there where they are, our listeners? How do they get in
Absolutely.
touch with you and how do they make that, how do they get that ball rolling? How do they
I-
get to that? Yes, we can do something.
Okay. As I mentioned, we do offer training both in person and virtual. Go to our webpage, fatherfriendlyschools.org. You can interact with us on Facebook, the National Alliance for Father Friendly Schools, and that's probably the most fun because I get in and do some videos and reels and things like that. So I've been having some fun with that. But you can call us at area code 910-294-0332. That's 910-294-0332. That comes straight through to my cell phone. So you can talk directly to me. If you get a voicemail, I'll call you back. But we don't do bots. We don't do we don't do any of the things that people get frustrated with, the push one, push two, whatever. We're real,
We're
and
direct. We're real. I like that.
love to be able to connect with you.
And that's what we work with also. The Achieving Unity Success Formula is reality, reality focused. And I can see that in what you're doing.
Well, thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure. I enjoy working with you. This is great.
It truly is, Keith. Thank you so much for joining us today. Your story, your heart, your message, they are all a powerful reminder that when we open the door to fathers, we're not just filling a volunteer slot. We are unlocking potential in students, strengthening communities, and building a much more unified future for all of us. So, to our listeners, if you felt a spark, any kind of a spark at all in today's conversation, please follow that. Maybe it's time to invite a dad to a school event near you. Start a conversation with your principal or just show up in your child's world a little more intentionally. Just listen, learn from them, be part of what they're doing. Remember, unity starts at home and grows through connection. As Keith said over and over, you can learn more about what he does, the National Alliance for Father Friendly Schools at fatherfriendlyschools.org. Keith, thank you again. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate what you're doing. It is awesome. Do you have any last words before we close?
Oh, I probably could go on for another hour, but
I think
but
we
no, I
could. That's
just
the best thing
thank
about
you.
working
Just
with you.
the whatever, if you're thinking about father engagement in schools, anything that you think of negative, the stereotypes, the oh, they're too busy, oh, they don't care, oh, they're not interested, oh, they're only on the football field, all of those cultural stereotypes, put them away and open the door and invite them in, because you will be amazed when you actually put that invitation out there. You'll be amazed at the number of guys that do respond.
That is so great, Keith. Thank you so much. So, everyone, thank you to Keith. Appreciate you being here. Until next time, next week, let's keep turning chaos like Keith is doing. Turn that chaos into connection. Let us keep achieving unity. You can reach me by www.achievingunity.com. Call me 303-362-873, which again is 303 focused, because we are focused on turning chaos into connection as we are achieving unity by harnessing that power of encouraging, inspiring, and including others in building better businesses, better lives, and a better world. Thank you all for being here. Keith, thank you again. We'll talk again, I hope, pretty soon. So, everyone, cheers.